That was a fantastic presentation by Jason. So good thing about my presentation is that there is nothing that I cannot talk. Bad thing about my presentation is that I'm just limited by my knowledge. So I'm pretty new to e-commerce, Sitecore e-commerce. So that's why I'm saying. And also it is really a vast topic. Okay, so 45 minutes, obviously you cannot, like, you can scratch the surface.
I can give another 15 minutes if you want.
Yeah, you know what will happen. I'll drink more. But I'll try to keep it like, it's a little high level, okay, so that we can touch the important topic. So obviously I cannot go too deep in the coding and stuff, but we'll see how it goes. So it's a first look at Sitecore Commerce. Obviously, as I said, like, it's more of high level thing. So we'll start with the history of Sitecore Commerce. So that will give us some idea about like where it stands now. That's the main reason I want to talk about how it evolved from, like, commerce server to Sitecore Commerce, what we have today. Okay, so actual product was really created by Microsoft in around 2000 or at that time. And actually, fun fact is I worked in that project for 2 months. I didn't learn anything. I'm sure about that. But so around that time, they came up with that product, and they actually ran the product for some time. And then they sold this product to Ascentium, which is a Canadian company, and they are, like, maintaining the existing customer and like adding features and stuff. So you can see that CS is actually commerce server, and they are releasing different version of it. Okay, so then Sitecore bought commerce server. I think it was in 2014. I think sometime in the early 2014, and they bought it. And basically, initially what they're like, after they bought it, they came up with this Commerce Connect. The idea of Commerce Connect, actually the idea of Commerce Connect came before they bought it. The idea of Commerce Connect is to create a platform or create a framework so that different commerce application can connect to Sitecore. Okay, so they created Commerce Connect, and obviously when they bought Commerce Server, they used Commerce Connect to integrate Commerce Server to Sitecore. Okay, so that was until, like, Sitecore Commerce 8.2, which was like, all were using Commerce Connect. So now they have released Sitecore Commerce 8.2.1, which is completely rewritten. Not that Commerce Connect is not there anymore. Commerce Connect is still there, but they rewrote the Commerce Engine, okay, using ASP.NET Core and new technology. So now Sitecore actually has a commerce application which is, like, separate from what Commerce Server used to be. Okay, so that's kind of history and how it evolved. So to start with, I thought that it is probably a good idea to familiarize ourselves with Sitecore Commerce rather than, like, jump into the technical detail of it and things like that. So we know every commerce application has some sort of like administration console. We know inside it has admin console, and every commerce, even commerce server has it too. So commerce authoring service, which I'm going to show you first, it's really how you do the administration of the commerce, like how you manage your catalog, how you manage your promotions, and all those e-commerce things. So that is done through the commerce authoring, which is commerce administration. But Sitecore has this, like concept of authoring and author commerce, like content author, and like so they say it like commerce authoring. So where do you think that this commerce authoring will exist actually? If I ask you, so let me show you. We should have started it before. So obviously they added this commerce authoring on the top of Sitecore, like dashboard. Okay, so you can go to the Sitecore administration or Sitecore admin, and then you can do the commerce administration there. But everything is not there. As I said, like still is evolving. So some part of it is done now, and some still exist in the commerce server side of it. So while that is coming up, maybe I should. So what is still there that they are using from the commerce server side? Not everything is available now in Sitecore. So if you see, there are business tools in commerce server. They are still in use. Okay, so catalog manager, some part of catalog management is in Sitecore. Some part of it still is in the commerce server. They couldn't actually done everything there. Commerce server catalog and inventory schema manager in commerce server, the concept is that you can create your, like for example, product, and product will have what kind of attributes or properties. You can actually define that. Okay, I'll bring the example of Insight. If you want to add Insight, if you want to add something, you have to actually use custom property or things like that. But in commerce server, you can actually define your schema, and that's what actually product will have when you are managing that product or displaying that product. So those are actually still there. Profile manager, order and customer is already there in Sitecore. So if I open this up, so some part of it you do in commerce server, and some part of it you have to do in the Sitecore. So this is kind of this old interface of commerce server where you go and you add your catalog, your inventory data and everything, you load there and you manage there. Okay, mainly those things you can do in those tools. So I'm going to show you storefront, which is basically the storefront that comes with Sitecore Commerce. Let's look at the IIS side of it. So basically, when you install Sitecore Commerce, it will install in the installation process. It will actually install 3 websites: Commerce Authoring, CS Service, and then your storefront. Commerce Authoring is one which is actually the Sitecore Commerce. I was talking about the ASP.NET Core, like the Sitecore Commerce Engine. That's what Commerce Authoring is. Storefront is really the website that you build on the top of the Commerce Authoring, and CS Service is the legacy service that you use to basically interact with the commerce server. So if you go here in the physical directory, you will see like, I'll talk about the architecture in the next slide, but basically these are the component they built on the top of like, ASP.NET Core. So the components are all based on like, plugins. The idea in the Commerce Engine is basically everything is plugin. Okay, so you want to, for example, like, look at coupons, catalog, or cards, everything is plugin. So if you want to add new functionality, you can write your own plugin, or you can extend the existing plugin. Okay, so the kind of architecture, like, it gives you a lot of extensibility, like, opportunities there. And then there is Commerce Core, which is basically the framework that they built, which the plugin talks to the Commerce Core. So let me see. Yeah, it came up. Okay, this is actually commerce authoring, which is commerce administration from Sitecore. So if you look at here is customer manager, order manager. You use this to manage orders and customers, obviously. Merchandising manager is basically catalog management, and pricing and promotion. These are the three part of administration is available now in the commerce authoring in Sitecore. So if you go here, any of this. So first time it actually reads the environment, pull up the environment here soon, I hope. Okay, so my environment is actually the AdventureWorks shop. So these are like, separate call. Now it actually pulled all the price book. So I'll talk a little bit about pricing here, just to show like, how you administer the commerce part of it from here. So basically in Sitecore Commerce pricing, you have the concept of price book. So you first create a price book, okay? And in the price book, you go ahead and create a price card. Okay, so a price book can have like, multiple price card, okay? And you associate that card with a catalog. For example, I have this my price card, which is associated with my Habitat Master catalog. So if I use this card, it is only applicable in the Habitat Master catalog. So I can actually, if I make it false, so this price card will not be available for that catalog at all. So nothing can use that price card. If you go to price card, so you create like in your price card, you create a snapshot, okay? So you can create multiple snapshots. Snapshot is basically nothing but like within a duration or within some dates, we want to use certain price. So you actually define your snapshot here, and which you can do basically based on like, I can go ahead and add a new price card. So if I define a new price card, then it will ask me a begin date, okay? And I'll give a date. The reason it's called snapshot is that it will start from that date, and you can have an end date also. Okay, so after that date, that price is not applicable anymore. And basically, you create that card, and then you add break quantity pricing. Like, if it is someone buying one item, they will get $5 price. If they are buying 10 items, like I don't know, it probably will charge $2, something like that. Okay, so you define those and create that price card. I'm not going to do that here, but basically you create that price card and you go to a product and select that price card for that product. When the product will be like seen in the website, it will just get the price from that price card, which will be different from the base price. That's the whole idea. But the reason I want to show you that, to give you some idea like how the commerce administration done through this Sitecore dashboard from here. Okay, and the other side of it is basically you do the administration from the commerce server business tool. Okay, so there are two places you go and manage your commerce server related information. Storefront is really an application that comes with that, and basically it looks like this. Every commerce application comes with some sort of storefront. This is the Sitecore storefront now. You can go to the GitHub and you can get this application and you can set it up in your machine and you can work with it. Every commerce has to actually have some sort of scheduled job to process things or integrate with ERP and process order or things like that. In case of Sitecore, it's called Minion. Minion service is really a background service. It runs asynchronously. It runs in background. That means it runs asynchronously and takes care of heavy lifting or some sort of job that we need to run. So, for example, when someone submits an order, that order needs to go through different state. Like it is in a pending stage, it goes to the release state. So Minion service is something that you configure, and Minion service takes care of that. Databases. So let's look at the databases. So Sitecore database I don't need to talk about because you all know about Sitecore databases. Basically the storefront, each of them are storefront databases, and there's nothing new there. These databases are all legacy Sitecore database. These are for profile, for catalog, those information are there. It's really commerce server databases. Sitecore Engine use these two databases. Okay, these are shared environment, store all the shared data, and then you have the global, which is applicable to all environments. Okay, so there is just 3 tables. I'll come to that. Okay, and I'll show you why there are only 3 tables. Okay, it's not expected in an RDBMS that you will have just, if for an e-commerce RDBM especially, you will have only 3 tables. But we'll see why it is like that. But I just wanted to show you to as I said, familiarizing. I thought that is easier to understand things if you know the environment well first. Okay, so these are the different parts of it. These 2 databases are used by the Sitecore Commerce Engine, which is new Sitecore Commerce. Finally, I'm done with that slide. Okay, so Sitecore architecture, Sitecore Commerce architecture. We have seen all those different parts of it. Okay, so let's look at the architecture first. So the red or close to pink, pink is actually the part which is still commerce server part. Okay, and the white part is the Sitecore Commerce part. Okay, the Sitecore Commerce. This doesn't have anything to do with anything on those. This is just an area I filled up. So we have seen commerce and order manager, pricing and promotion manager, merchandising manager. These are the business tools. Okay, and merchandising managers still use some of the commerce server APIs and talk to commerce server. But all these and storefront talks to commerce engine, which is this, through the connectors. It doesn't really go directly to the commerce engine and talk to it. Okay, so connectors are basically a bunch of pipelines and events and defined framework. So it goes through those connectors and then talk to Sitecore Commerce Engine or Sitecore Commerce Server. So on the top, this is everything goes through the Commerce Connect, and then either it will talk to Sitecore Engine Connect, or if it needs to talk to the Sitecore Commerce Server, it will go to the Commerce Server Connect. Okay, so based on what it needs to do. So if it talks to Sitecore Engine Connect, it will go to Sitecore Engine, and Sitecore Engine basically is first of all, it's REST APIs. So it uses OData API endpoints. So you can talk to anything in Commerce Engine using OData. Okay. And then we have a concept of entity views, which is kind of ready-made object that you can use in your application. Now, below that comes the part which is actually the engine, is the plugins. You have pricing plugin, promotion, payment, everything is actually separated. You can write your own plugin. This really the part which actually defines this commerce application. And basically everything you use from the Commerce Engine is through the OData API. That's what you use to talk to them. And Commerce Engine underneath that, it takes care of all the business logic and everything. The plugins actually takes care of all the business logic and everything. And Sitecore Commerce Core is really the framework which gives you all this engine, all these plugins talk to Sitecore Commerce Core to actually get things in and out. And this whole Commerce Engine, it is built on ASP.NET Core, .NET Framework. So ASP.NET Core, you know that it's actually there are two flavors of it. One is you can use .NET Framework. The other one is .NET Core. So Sitecore had to choose, I think, is .NET Framework because there are all these components, Sitecore components, which are built on .NET Framework, Sitecore kernel or anything. If you go to Engine, you will see that some of the Sitecore content, DLLs or the components are there. Okay, so I think that's the reason they had to choose .NET Framework. I don't know what will happen. I just saw that ASP.NET Core, 2.0, they are not supporting .NET Framework anymore. Okay, so they will use .NET Core. I'm not sure, but I saw that. So anyway, and then everything here actually talk to Sitecore XP platform. Engine interacts with the Sitecore XP storefront. It can directly interact with Sitecore XP. So, for example, for the XP stuff or whatever, you use Sitecore XP. And this net part is really as I said, catalog service, inventory service, profile service. All these are still there in Commerce Server. I think eventually they will be moved to the Sitecore Commerce Engine. So those things are going away. And some of it I showed you. The commerce server business tool actually interact with the Sitecore Commerce server. Some of these you have to still do using this, like schema manager or something like that. Okay, so this kind of define, like the architecture right now, like at this point. This will probably change. Um, all right. Any question? Data storage is not changing. The same old legacy Sitecore database. No. As I showed you, like authoring service, authoring actually use a new different database than like old commerce server database. Business tools still work, right? Yeah. Legacy business tool, Sitecore Commerce Server is still there. Okay, if you are talking about Commerce Server, that actually completely separate product, and so that works with the legacy database. Okay, but the new Commerce Engine doesn't store the data in the Commerce Server database.
Where the product flows from. If you rephrase, so for instance, if I go to the merchandising manager, manage the catalogs there, can I come back and the legacy business tools and edit the same catalog from there?
You will see, but the merchandise manager stores the data in the Sitecore Commerce database. The reason it has to actually use the Commerce legacy, because some of those schema manager and those things are not there. So if you say you define a property for the product, that product property is still there in the legacy. Okay, but actual product is actually in the new Commerce database. So when you see the product in the storefront, you see it from the Sitecore Commerce database, not from the site. Right. So it comes from there, but it still needs like one thing, like if you want to define a user is there in Sitecore. Okay, but you have to add a property in the profile manager called external ID. Okay, so if you add that, then that user will be connected to, like in Sitecore. So some of this part is still there in the commerce server.
Product is in flux. So the product is in flux basically.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense because I think it's going to take a little time to actually move everything. Okay, I'm very sorry that you have to see this, but I talked about architecture, but I want to show you, like how things flow. Okay, so this is what I'm showing. It's easy for me to, like read and understand because I already know it. So what I'm showing here is that how I can get the product bulk prices. So I am sending bunch of products IDs and say that give me the bulk prices of that. So this is a call, like to the Sitecore Commerce Engine and get the price from there. So if you want to do that, first you create a request, which is like as you can see, Sitecore Commerce Engine connect services prices get product bulk price request. So it will create a request for that call, and then you use pricing service provider dot get product bulk price and pass that request. The pricing like service provider is something that, like comes with Sitecore Engine, is part of the Sitecore Commerce, but it's a provider. You can create your own provider. Okay, so this gives you the extensibility. So, but basically you use that provider to get the bulk price, and when it calls, it actually runs a pipeline, very similar to how we do things in Sitecore. It runs a pipeline called commerce price, get price, get product bulk price pipeline. Okay, and what that pipeline looks like is it is site engine connect pipelines price get product bulk price. Okay, so it's basically calling that method, and from the engine connect, and then what happens is that particular I didn't put everything here, all the code, but main part of it is actually in this method or in this pipeline method. It calls proxy.execute and asks for sellable item pricing. Like, there are product ID, I'm passing all these sellable items, that price, give me that price. Only thing to see here is that this is actually the API call. This proxy is actually OData proxy. Okay, so using that proxy.execute, when you do that, you are just making an API call, which is an API call going to the commerce engine, and then basically returning you the OData object. Basically, it's a REST call. You don't call like using your own code. You just use the proxy to do that. So everything when you are interacting with the Sitecore Commerce Engine is like that. Okay, I think. So let's see the logical system architecture there to understand how things work. So I stole it from the Sitecore document. It's nothing I cannot use it. It's there. So the idea is really very similar to how Sitecore organizes things. Okay, basically one side of it is authoring, which is our master database, content author, the way they do things. So commerce administration or authoring happens on the left side, which is your commerce server database here. Okay, and all your merchandising, price promotion, all those things lives there. Okay, so you do that this side, and delivery is where your store font is basically, and there you basically read data or you do the shopping and all those things here. Okay. Now when it comes to commerce service, you have three different service: commerce engine authoring role, and minion is the job. You can have a separate server for that, and then basically this one serves all the shopping APIs and things. So this actually talks to the delivery server directly. You can see, and this part is talks to authoring part of it, and then all they go to the same SQL Server databases. And this part I don't think I need to talk about it, but basically the experience database, how the XGB data flows here. So idea here is that there is a separate layer for commerce service, which talks to your Sitecore, either your CM environment or your content delivery environment. Okay, content delivery is where your store font is. So there are four roles or actors. Okay, authoring role is business user who actually manages catalog and everything, price promotion and all those things. Shop role is an end user, go buy stuff from e-commerce.
minion roles, I already said that minion is like, it's a asynchronous service running in the server,
which is basically talking to taking care of some bad jobs. DevOps roles is basically when you're setting up a new commerce environment. Okay, DevOps is there are APIs available where you actually do initialize your catalog, you create your environment. Okay, those are really developer tasks which can be done through the API also. Okay, so that is actually DevOps roles. Okay, there are three kinds of, based on those roles, there are actually three kinds of APIs. Shop APIs for end user. Okay, it's just like, get me the product, show me the price. Okay, add it to cart. All those are shop APIs. Okay, checkout, etc. Commerce Ops APIs are for DevOps. Those are like, I want to create all these products there, or I want to create a new environment. I want to create like, new profiles and stuff. You can do that using Commerce Ops APIs. Authoring APIs is for business user. Those are like, as I showed in the merchandising manager or in the pricing, all those APIs are used by authoring, are called authoring APIs. Okay, a little demo here. So you can actually do a lot of stuff using the Postman tool, all these APIs. So good thing about it's really fantastic tool, Postman. So all these APIs you can execute from Postman. Okay, so in Postman you can create collection and then you can import collection. So if I go and say I want to get this collection, so I actually loaded this already. So this is actually a JSON file. You can select that JSON file and it will load those API collection. Basically, it is the, instead of like, you go type things by hand, you can create this and later you can use it. Okay. So if you do that, then you can see all these collections here. So here is like, catalog sample, API sample. So sellable item. I say sellable item, say without variation. Okay. So it actually is a get method. Then there is service host, shop APIs, and this is the call sellable item, and then you can pass the environment, you can pass the item ID, okay, and then expand and everything, it will return you data. Okay. Cool thing about Postman is actually all these are, if you can create an environment where you can define what this will be. For me, like, service host is commerce authoring :5000 is actually the port. So when I run this, those variable will be replaced by this data. So you can go and add basically okay, so here you can add those and that will be replaced there. Okay, so now if I run this, there are headers here and these are replaced by those values. If I click on this, so it will return the result, and you can see this is a JSON. And basically, as I said, when you're running the proxy.execute, it really this API runs and then it returns, takes the request and header and returns the data in JSON format. So this is one example of shop API. You can have other, like, here, I think I have the DevOps API here. So here is Git environment. So I am looking for adventure works environment.
And Ops API is value is commerce ops. So if I run this, it will return me
that information about that environment. So basically DevOps use these APIs to, like, bootstrap the environment, initialize the environment, all those things. And
these APIs. Obviously, you can run your create your own program to set up
the environment. Then I think okay. So I was talking about Minion. So Minion also there are APIs like job. You can either run that periodically or you can run that manually, right? In this case, in Sitecore, you can go to the Minion web API and you can run a job from here, okay? Or it's really, you go to the commerce authoring, here is the configuration, go here, data environment, and open this Minion. If you look at this, this is actually Minion configuration. So basically Minion policy. So you say that wake up every 5 minutes and run this pending order job. Okay, it runs every 5 minutes and then process all the pending orders. Okay, so that's the way you can configure the Minion job. Now, I hope that at some point of time, there will be some sort of user interface where you can go and do that from the user interface.
So that's the only way to do it?
That's the only way I found.
Okay.
You can do it, and I haven't seen any other place that you can go and you can configure your job.
Okay.
Okay, so
that's where I found it. Okay, so that was Postman.
And this other way to do it is actually using Fiddler. I really like Fiddler for many reasons. I mean, Postman is very powerful, okay, but you have to know, like, what API you are looking for. But sometimes we want to actually want to know which API is getting called. So you know that if you want to, these are server-side API calls, like, from one website is calling another website. Okay, so to capture these server-side calls, you have to actually use this configuration in the web.config. And if you do that, basically you do this, and I can bring up this side because it will be recycled. And then I have to see the let's see, come back soon. So what I mean to say is that, say I am working on something and I want to know which API to call and where to look for. Okay, so Fiddler is a good tool to actually debug that. Okay, so I can go to the, let's see if I can show from here. So Fiddler is running, and if I refresh this and look at the Fiddler, sometimes there is a here. Okay, so when I refresh it, this page has a product cross-sell. Okay, for that, it actually call this API, and you can see everything
Like
in.
you can see in Postman. Okay, this was the call made. Not only that, if you can
Want to play with it, you can go to replay, and you can go reissue from composer. Okay, it will take that call and create something like what we were doing in Postman. Okay, we are adding header, we are adding, like, this request, and then there is request body, and we are executing that. So by doing this in composer, you can do the same thing. If you say execute, it will execute, and then you can see it executed. You can go to this one, and you can see the response. Okay, now you can go to composer, and you can change any of this parameter, and you can get a different, like, product, or you can manage to bullet it. Sometimes I feel like that is easier than Postman when I'm exploring something. So I will just go touch a little bit about the database. As I said, like, there are only 3 tables. Okay, so this table has the environment ID and ID, and then there is entity. Okay, and let's see that Fiddler one. Let's see if I can find out. I take this and say where see if it is there. So I hope I am in the right place. There are only how many? 372. Oh, I think it will be in ID. No. Did I copy it properly? Oh, that's not the one. Huh. I actually modified that, and that's not also not in ID. Sorry. So basically, if you look at this, this data is here, and I'll just show you one of these. So this is the whole JSON object is actually stored here. Okay, you you can go and put it in a JSON editor and look at it. I don't know. Obviously, I mean, relational database doesn't look like that. Okay, because relational database, like, works differently. You use row column kind of approach. Okay, obviously this opens up using other kind of data store, like document database, like Mongo or anything. But this is the way, like, the data is stored there. So if you want to get to something Obviously, you don't go and look at the database. In Sitecore, never it was like, you go to the SQL database and do something. Okay, you always use API or interfaces like that to do things. But I just wanted to show you, like, why there are only 3 tables and how it looks like. Okay, so that's it. Q&A. Any question? Any question, you guys online?
The Postman file that you had, that sample one, is that in like a folder underneath Sitecore Commerce, or like where did you get that from?
Sorry, which one?
Postman.
That Postman sample one that you had that had like the pricing calls and stuff.
Oh, okay. No, that was installed with Sitecore Commerce. So I can show you. But, let me show you. Here you go. Where was that? I was going to that from Postman, right? I think it was Postman. So this came with the SDK. Okay, SDK has a Postman folder which contains, like, all the DevOps APIs and shop APIs collection.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
All right. That was good. Thank you, guys.